This was a wonderful presentation, not just specific about India, but also in generic term. I think anybody who watches is they can use all these principles in their own lives if they want to brand themselves in some way or not.
Everything is branding. This morning, if you went to Starbucks, had a cup of coffee, you paid $5 because it's a branded product. If you look at any sports personalities, for example, Tiger Woods, he's a brand. Every one of you in this room is a brand by yourself. This morning, before I came in, I asked feedback about one person in the room we all love and respect. And the way he was described is tireless, always there for the community, an academician and a scholar, and gives from the heart. That is our beloved Professor Nanda. He's a brand. And that is a brand that was built on authenticity over the last 50 years. It just doesn't happen. The same way, India is a brand. Because branding is everything without which India comes across as just another piece of land on this planet. Let's talk today about how to separate India from the rest of the world. Now, this morning, when I wanted to come to DU, I just looked at and did a very simple thing. I opened my GPS. I put there where I want to go. Of course, the GPS always helps me because the GPS knows where I'm starting from. And then it gave me 3 paths. And I chose the path that I wanted to take this morning, and I'm here. In life, it's exactly the same way. For us, for Brand India's journey, the 5 T's have been defined for us by our beloved Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. He has talked about the 5 T's: talent, trade, tradition, tourism, and technology. It gets so easy, at least when you know where to go. But unlike in real life, where you have a GPS, here, most of us normally, naturally cannot figure out where we are, and it takes a decent amount of effort to discover that. And once you know where you are, then of course, you can choose the path. So I look at that India, these are 5 doors through which you will explore India. Not too many people will touch the brand India directly, but if you are in trade or tourism, that's where you will touch, which means each of these doors need to connect to the same India as we start looking at. What is perception? We need to start by looking at what Brand India's current perception is. Imagine it is just like a blank billboard where everything you hear and read about India defines the perception of India. But there are 2 elements to perception. Number 1, this picture is in front of you. Most of us see this as a very cute cat. But this creature sees itself as a ferocious lion. There's a gap. And when you look at the gap, on one side is reality. Reality is perception defined by the target audience, how others see you, and how you see yourself is your aspiration, and that's where you want to go. So, it's incredibly important for us to figure out how the world sees India. What we did was, we did a small experiment. We went to a Facebook USA sample and asked them a very simple question. What is your current perception of India? And this is what they shared with us. They shared with us, number one was some kind of description of India where they talked about the flavors of India, the food. They talked about colorful India. They also talked about the call centers. None of these go beyond to a positive or negative. This is just like India is that. The next was feelings. Feelings were things about India's traffic, population, children, pollution. And again, you must have guessed, some of this comes from some of the movies we watch, like Slumdog Millionaire, Lion. They all contribute to this. The third is icons. And some of the icons that came out was Taj Mahal, Mahatma Gandhi, Bollywood, India's film industry. Next, about India's superiority. Our Prime Minister and his interaction with Zuckerberg. The Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, being of Indian origin, and other scientific contributions by Indians. And finally, it was about yoga, about spirituality. Even though these were 5 different areas, not all of them resonated to the same level. What we found was, at the beginning, 45% of people were talking about describing India, and then the numbers started dropping to 35%, 22, and 14 for yoga. I do not know about you, but this is not the India we all take pride in. Okay? But perception is reality. So what we did was the second part of the experiment. We told people during the research a lot of things about icons about India and about brand superiority. What about brand superiority? The things we talked about are India invented the number 0. The first university, Nalanda, was in India 700 years before Christ. We talked about chess being invented, Ayurveda, the first medicine invented in India, and of course, yoga. For icons, we showed about Taj Mahal, Mahatma Gandhi, and a lot of different numbers. What happened right after we asked the same question, what's your perception of India? The descriptions dropped dramatically. What also dropped was feelings. Icons remained exactly the same. What told me about the icons was people are already saturated, maximized, telling them more people did not get about, say, oh, Taj Mahal is in India. No, they know about it. Mahatma Gandhi, yes, he's from India. They know about it. But the number that changed was India's cutting-edge superiority, and also yoga. This told us 3 things. 1, of course, if you tell them things, they'll recall. But it wasn't as simple as that, because I told them about icons too. So it's things that are relevant in their mind that you tell them that will change and increase the perception. This also helped us understand if tomorrow we went and tried directly and tried to tackle why the perceptions changed for the feelings, we did not tell them anything different. We did not tell them anything directly. But the perception of superiority going up dropped this. So the choice for India is very simple. India must define its perception or it will be defined for you. And what we saw when it's defined for us, it's usually not what we want it to be. So there are 3 things that we found that India's perception should communicate. 1, unique, which is only India. 2, make it relevant. Make it relevant to me. Our life is changing at such a fast pace. I don't know about you. I haven't listened to a voicemail in its entirety in maybe years. In this particular speed of life, if you can't make it relevant to me, it does not work. And finally, it has to be authentic. Because a culture which is 4,000 plus years has to touch you right here to build the brand. So let's look at unique. As we look at unique and each one of these traits, it's very important that they are all aligned, which means any door you see, whether it's trade or tourism or technology, you need to see the same India. Unique about stands out and also there over time. Here are 3 pictures that are used very commonly in India tourism. The first one is from Varanasi, the second one with some camels in front of Taj Mahal, and the third is peacock, India's national bird. But for somebody who has no idea about India, does an internet online search, you'll get similar pictures from other countries. The first picture is from Pashupatinath Temple in Nepal. The second is from Dubai. And the third one is from Pakistan. In fact, on Pakistan tourism websites, there's a talking peacock, which defines the brand. So this is not unique. So what we can look at is what is only India. Taj Mahal is a great example. But owning it is very important. By owning it, I mean there are 2 things. One, how can you let some person open a casino in Atlantic City and call it the Taj Mahal? If you look at tomorrow, if you try to open a restaurant and call it either Olympics or Masters, the Olympic Committee will find you. The Augusta Masters golf tournament will find you and make you cease to exist right away. That's how aggressively they protect the intellectual property. I personally believe Taj Mahal needs to be protected even more. And the second, we need to tell the story of Taj Mahal. They don't understand the seriousness of Taj Mahal. They don't understand this is a tomb, mausoleum. They don't understand this is the biggest, best love story of all ages ever told. So let's tell the story of Taj Mahal. The year was 1608. A young princess, Arjun Begum, in a local bazaar, meets the crown prince, Prince Khurram. They fell in love. These are the gardens where the young couple met. 3 years later, the prince becomes the emperor, and we all know him as Shah Jahan. 1612, they get married. And Arjun Begum was known as Mumtaz Mahal. Their love story went through phases. Phase 1, teenagers meeting in the bazaar. Phase 2, she's the queen now. The emperor depends on Mumtaz Mahal. She travels with him everywhere. And during the process of the 14th childbirth in southern India, in Behrampur, she passes away in the battlefield. That night, the emperor is totally heartbroken. He doesn't want to fight anymore. As he's coming back, he wanted to create a place for his wife to lay and rest forever. That's the vision of Taj Mahal. A lot of us have visions, but very few of us can take it to the level Shah Jahan took it. He built a structure in 1612 that even today we are trying to explain how it happened. As Shah Jahan gets older, his sons take over the emperor, they fight between each other, and Aurangzeb, son number 3, takes over the throne. First thing he did was put dad in prison. And dad was put in a prison which is in the fort, which is across the Yamuna River from where you can see Taj Mahal. The only thing Shah Jahan wanted that Aurangzeb gave him was that he could see Taj Mahal from where he was. So this old emperor, till the last day of his life, had one wish. He wanted to see Taj Mahal where his wife was buried. Here's a picture with his daughter Jahanara. She also spent 8 years with the dad, being in the prison, to help dad every day see Taj Mahal. Towards the end, Shah Jahan's eyesight became very weak. His kind son was very generous. He put a diamond on the wall of the fort, the prison. So Shah Jahan could look at the diamond and see the reflection of Taj Mahal till the last day. And there are poets who talk about the last thing Shah Jahan ever saw was Taj Mahal. What an incredible love story of all ages. Instead of just putting a picture of Taj Mahal and enticing people to buy a replica that they take back home, which may cost $5, $7, why can't we tell them the story? When they are in front of Taj Mahal, they realize they're in front of the history of the biggest love story ever told. That's our Taj Mahal. The same way, we can start building stories about every other attribute of India that only India owns. Karma, a very commonly used word all over the world. It started in India. The origin of it is in Bhagavad Gita. It started in Kurukshetra. We know exactly where it started, when it started. Why can't we own that? Yoga, meditation, we can go on. But it is very important as we start going into each one of them, we need to have a story which is a story worth told, a story that is ownable, and that aggressively own that. We have here among us Sudhir Verma, amazing friend of mine. Vermaji learned yoga from Dhiren Brahmachari, one of the pioneers of yoga. Every time I talk to him, I realize all this hot yoga, cold yoga, semi-temperature yoga, running yoga, everything else is garbage. But think, perception is reality. Till we come and educate people by saying yoga, there's only one way of doing yoga because that was being done for 4,000 plus years. The perception of all these different yogas define yoga. So instead of having one day as a yoga day and rest of the year not protecting the brand, India must aggressively create each one of these brands and protect these brands because yoga is India's yoga. Next, let's make India relevant. Relevant is about me, how I see myself and how it has evolved. Again, it's the same picture of Taj Mahal, but if we change that, if we put a picture of my buddy Clint, his wife Sherry, and their son Mick, all of a sudden they can see themselves as in front of Taj Mahal enjoying the story, instead of something that you go, take a picture, and you leave. It's about experiencing, it's about feeling. The color festival, Holi, Anytime you put the picture out there, it looks like something those indigenous people of India do. You sit outside, stand away, and say, guys, good job. Let me take a picture. No. Holi is for everybody. India, for last 4,000 years, have embraced every person who has come in. And if we show a picture which shows somebody who is not indigenous, somebody who's from outside, enjoying Holi, it really makes it broader, and people start seeing. And then, let's take it a step beyond. Just like Taj Mahal, let's tell the story of Holi. Let's tell the story of Krishna and Radha playing Holi. Let's talk about how Holi connects to us. Like any time during Holi, my Holi started in the morning, where I went and touched the feet of my parents, my grandma, took their blessings. That's the culture, that's the heritage. There's a story which is not being told, which we can. Now, when we look at technology, trade, H-1B visa defines India. Every time that's on the news. And the simple story is very easy. You guys are stealing our jobs. Because of you, we are making less money, you're taking more money. It's such a simple story. But is that the story? Or is there a story even bigger than that? Have we ever quantified the amount of value India adds to businesses here? When we show pictures about Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, with Zuckerberg, you can only appreciate this picture if I put it into perspective on Zuckerberg's reaction to the rest of the world. If you start seeing everywhere else, it's a handshake. It's a formal business dealing. Hey, Zuckerberg, what can you do? How many jobs can Facebook bring to us? Can you do this for us? Zuckerberg's trying to find out what's good for Facebook. Can you let some of our other drones and everything else in your country do all these things? India, it was about a warm embrace. It was a connection that started the whole business model. With Brand India, there are graphs and charts from McKinsey that's being portrayed everywhere. Some of these graphs have more fine prints than you can think of. We need to go beyond. We need to tell stories. If we can tell these stories to what, so what, and now what, that's what defines. Any person can look at a graph. But if I take the graph and tell you the so what is, if you move businesses to India and do A, B, and C, which are not available anywhere else, it can help you. And then the now what is very personal, which means, Arjun, for your small company, ZenMango, your efficiencies will go up. This is the way it helps you. That takes it to the next level. No point putting graphs and charts out there. Finally, we need to be authentic. Authenticity is about every touch point. We need to touch from the heart. And touching from the heart does not happen just once, all through. To show an example, when you look at Starbucks, Starbucks has multiple touch points, starting from the moment you walk in, the picture of the brand, a picture of the logo. You start seeing, feeling the aroma. Then you start looking at their people like me, you start seeing the $300, $500 equipment. All these smaller pieces of brand elements together make the Starbucks experience. And that's the reason we pay $5 for a cup of coffee, walk away, happy. $5. I can make the coffee at home for 30 cents. So the same way, India needs to think about its brand elements. And for any brand element is the first impression that defines a big part of the experience. If the first impression is negative, then you have to walk uphill all the way to get to even a positive level. On the other side, if the first impression is magical, then life gets so much easier. This is one of India's new state-of-art airports, which could be one of the world's top 5 airports. You get there after a 14-hour flight at 1:30 a.m. Right there is immigration. You go through immigration, take a first step, you're in India. You're tired. You're lost. You do not know where to go. Do people in India speak English? There's so many questions. If that point of time you see somebody professional with a big smile, with a cold water, and telling you, welcome to India. How can I help you? This is the place you go for luggage. From outside, this is what you can do. Currency change can happen here. Instead of having a counter when you can go, let's embrace people. Let's walk to people. Welcome them to India. All of a sudden, you have this most amazing moment. Then, the final point of an experience matters. If everything goes great in an experience, towards the end, if things go bad, that's what you remember. The same way when you leave India, if we can do something very simple, is thank you. Give you some kind of a pin or something which says, I love India. Maybe a postcard, something. So when you are in the plane, waiting for the plane to take off, you sit there, all of a sudden you look back, say, wow, you feel good. And it just reminds you of the amazing memories that happened. And once you start at the beginning, and once you have the end, then you add everything together by putting all the micro elements in between. But all of them have to be unique, relevant, and authentic. So as we start looking at the three things about Brand India is very important is unique, relevant, authentic. Find the stories, but then let's own it. Own it is about pride. Own it, and then tell the story. A lot of you have traveled from around the world to come to this conference. I want to share something with you that you take back, which is the spirit from America. This is the picture of Secretariat. Secretariat in 1972 won the Triple Crown, which is the three biggest races. And this is the last of the races in Belmont. In this race, Secretariat won by 30 lengths. If you translate that, in soccer, it would be at World Cup final winning by 10 or 12 goals. It would be like in a cricket final winning by 200 or 300 runs. That's how big the margin of win was. Most races win by either a photo or maybe half a length, 30 lengths unheard of. Now, the jockey, anytime a race ends, the finishing line, the jockey is always pointed forward, aiming at the sky. Not this time. This guy knew about the moment, so he was looking back to savor the moment because he knew the margin of victory. Effectively, he's looking back and saying, nana, nana, boo, boo, come on, guys, till you finish, I can't get the trophy. That's about winning big. But how does this happen? Outside Lexington, Kentucky, is where Secretariat is buried. The horse died in 1989. When I was at Papa John's, I took my team one day to Secretariat's grave. Small museum. You go there, other horses are buried. And then we heard about the whole story. When a horse dies, they bury the heart of the horse. An average horse's heart weighs 8 pounds. In Australia, there was this coolest horse ever called Farlap. And the weight of Farlap's heart was 14 pounds. 14, 1, 4. 8, 14. When Secretariat dies, Secretariat's heart was 25 pounds. 25 pounds. So it's the size of the heart that matters. So as we get into telling the story of India, let's be unique, let's be relevant, let's be authentic, but at the end, the story must start from the heart. because that's what India is all about. Thank you.
I think this was a wonderful presentation. It has a lot of points that India can definitely use, and even the Indian trade associations or Indian businesses or Indian politicians, or we just as coming from India can utilize for our own benefits in a way. So I think this is wonderful. I think we need to definitely spread the word, and as many people can see this, it will definitely make a huge difference. So again, thank you for having me at your presentation, Professor Sen.